And literally, like, after that, a lot of things changed for me. Like, Uncle Ill and Champtown, well, Champtown didn't really know that Uncle Ill was splitting from him, but Uncle Ill kind of split from him and then ended up at my house listening to beats that I was making, and then we put our group together. And as our group was coming out in 97, so was the Slim Shady EP. And during that whole time, I'm around Marshall as he's recording it, you know, in certain places. I did all the sound effects, like for like Murder Murder. What else? I mean, there's a couple other tracks on that. Just the Two of Us. You know.
You did the sound effects.
Yeah.
Like the baby
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah. And Murder Murder, like the cash register. You know, clean out the register. Do it before somebody catches you. You know, and you know, the whole, just any, he wanted to make it like, you know, he wanted to put you in the mind of it visually, so you could close your eyes, hear the story, but with the sound effects to it, it paints a cinematic picture of it. And he really wanted to put you in that, you know.
What was he like back then?
It was cool as fuck. It was cool as fuck. Honestly, it was cool as fuck. Like, he's still the same guy, like, as I see him now today. He's a very reserved guy, very to himself, in the fact that, like, you know, he wasn't private, but he was also embarrassed of his lifestyle and how he was living. You know, like he was homeless at one point. I remember him taking me to his mother's trailer, you know, where he was barely living at where his mother was, and you know, like, I mean, it wasn't good. You know, his whole life, just rap was that focus, and that was his way out for real. Like,
was this before he had a baby?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
So he was homeless at one point?
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Lost his job. He used to work at Little Caesars. Like, he did a lot of odd jobs. He worked at Gilbert's Lodge around the time. He worked at Little Caesars before Gilbert's Lodge, but around the time that we were hanging out, he was still working at Gilbert's Lodge as a cook. And him and I were living parallel lives, so we kind of latched on to each other as friends, because we both had women that were pregnant 2 weeks apart. So they were having their babies 2 weeks apart. We were both white rappers in Detroit, working 10 times harder, we felt, than black rappers were to make it. Because, you know, we had felt like we had so much we had to prove. You know, I mean, it's a lot. Like, most people would have just been like, who are these Vanilla Ice motherfuckers? You know, because that was really, I mean, yeah, we had Third Base and we had, you know, Beasties, and, you know, but as far as solo artists, like, that's the only dude we had that really fucked it up for everybody. So, you know, at the end of the day, we were just like following the same path. I'd pick him up, take him to all the black open mics. Nobody would take him to any of the black open mics. He had never done any of the black open mics. There was C Note Lounge.
So you were there when he first did an open mic? Or?
I was there when he was doing the black open mics. So he didn't want to do them.
There was a white open mic?
Well, no, like the black clubs.
Okay.
That were mostly in the hood clubs. Then you had the suburb spots. So, you know, there were different. Detroit is a very multicultural place when it comes to hip hop. Always has been. You know, the way it's portrayed in 8 Mile is more like, you know, Rocky, you know, where you've got this guy versus all of, you know, a whole demographic of people. If you watched 8 Mile and you see the battle scenes, it's all black in the crowd. That's not how Detroit was. Detroit had we've got a huge Spanish community. We've got an Arab community. We've got a white community. We got a black community, poor community. We got a middle class community. We got, we had female B girls that used to be there. We had break dancers in the crowd that were white, black, Asian, you name it. So.
And everybody had their own groups, though. Everybody was grouped off?
No, everybody was all together. But when it came to open mics in the hood, it was mostly like tucked away black clubs.
Gotcha.
So C-Note would have an open mic night, and it like off 7 Mile and Van Dyke. If you know 7 Mile and Van Dyke area, it's hood. It's straight hood. You ain't gonna see no white boys in there. They're not just gonna walk up in there and jump on a mic. It just don't happen. But I grew up on the east side. I grew up in Detroit. So none of that meant anything to me. That's where I grew up at. So walking in those places was easy for me. I knew how dope this dude was, that I was like, yo, you need to come to C-Note and spit that shit you just spit last week. And he was like, you think I should do that? I'm like, fuck yeah. Like you need to be killing motherfuckers out here. He'd be like, all right, let's go. Put him in the car, take him to C-Note. He'd jump on the mic. He would just do just don't give a fuck verse, or no one's iller verse, or just a freestyle that he'd had already made up in his head. And then, we'd leave. And then the next week, I'm like, yo, you need to come to Ebony Showcase. You need to come to Ebony Showcase. I've been hearing about Ebony Showcase, but I don't know if that's the place for me to go. Like, no, you need to go do that. You need to come there. Like, I just performed there. Like, you need to come there. All right. You get in the car, go there.
What were the reactions that he was getting?
He got, I mean, people were like in awe, like, damn, this white boy's dope, and our
was he ever nervous, like in 8 Mile?
Yeah, he was always nervous, no question.
Did he ever throw up like in 8 Mile? Where
No, I never seen him throw up, no, nothing like that. But he had a white Nike Air hat, and he always used to keep it, the brim was like cuffed like that, so you couldn't see his eyes. And he would just keep his head down. He didn't really make eye contact with the crowd like that. And it's just like he wanted to be one with the lyrics and get it out so you heard it. And when it came across, man, you just knew there was nobody ever gonna stop this dude. When he went to, I remember he went to Scribble Jam and he lost. He did a show here. He opened up for Razzcast here, and we were all there. I forget who else was on that bill. So I remember him going down to, I believe it was Cincinnati, for Scribble Jam, and he had like $20 in his pocket. And I remember him coming back from Scribble Jam, and he was. I don't want to say devastated, but he was disappointed. That's the best word.
What place did he come in?
Second. He battled Juice. Juice was dope.
Was this his first big battle?
I think so.
Were you there?
I was not there.
You weren't there.
I was not there. And I just remember when he came back, I remember him and I kicking it. We used to drive around freestyle in the car. He would help me with my lines. You should say this way. You should bend this word this way. You should syllable this way. And then I would listen to what he's saying, and I barely ever told him what he should be doing. But once in a while, I'd throw a line out there like, nah, you shouldn't say that. Don't say that. You should rhyme it with this. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, you know what? I didn't think about that. And it's weird hearing somebody say that they didn't think about that when they're already like somewhat of a savant with the dictionary already. And but I remember telling him he was getting ready to go do the Rap Olympics.
Okay, did he already have the Shady LP recorded?
No.
Okay,
Nope.
so this is before he
He
started
hadn't
to record
even
that.
he hadn't even started, but he had a couple tracks, but they ended up becoming different. The production ended up becoming different once he got signed to Interscope and Aftermath, because the budget was better. You know, they were able to, the quality had to be there for his debut, and a lot of the quality on the stuff he was doing sounded more like demos as opposed to a national record. I remember the Bad Meets Evil record with Royce and him on the Slim Shady LP. There's a whole nother version of that produced by this guy named Doc Seuss from here, who was part of Royce's crew back in the day called Wall Street here. I always thought that was the way better version than the one that ended up on the album. But when you listen to it, it's out there, it's on YouTube. It's very demo-y. Like, it's super, the quality would not have been good for it.